Hi everyone, it's Lisa Mears. Thank you so much for joining me today. In this video, I'm going to be playing with a brand new product by Simon Hurley, which is his brand new line of solar paste. I'll show you all of the colors of solar paste, how they look on white versus black cardstock, and I'll also show you 5 ways that you can use the solar paste to make cards. I will have product links for all of the supplies you see in my video listed down in the description box of this YouTube video, so if you are interested in purchasing anything you see here, I always appreciate when you use my links because it helps support me. So let's go ahead and take a look at this fun new product. Solar paste is a little different than Simon's lunar paste in that this paste is a creamy white paste that when it's spread on cardstock, it turns a metallic color. It looks best on black cardstock and will look more pastel on a white cardstock. The solar paste comes in 2-ounce jars. They come in 6 different colors. You can purchase the colors individually or you can purchase them as a bundle. So I'm just going to sample them here on the different cardstock so you can see what they look like. So I have white cardstock and black cardstock, and then I'm just using a palette knife to spread them on. So this first solar paste is called Cross My Heart. It's kind of like a pinkish red color. So you can see that on the black cardstock, it's a beautiful metallic shine. On the white cardstock, you can still see it. It's a little bit more pastel, but ultimately it does look best on the darker cardstock. So this next one that I have is called Overheated. It's kind of like an orange color. So you can see that all of the colors I have are white. It's a creamy white. And as soon as I put it on my palette knife, you can actually see it start changing colors because my palette knife is black. But here I'm just going to spread it on the white cardstock, and then I'm also going to spread it on the black cardstock, and you could immediately see that color shift when it's spread on that black cardstock. So just like with any paste, you just use a palette knife to spread it on. Look at that beautiful shine on the cardstock. So between each color application, I am using a paper towel to clean off my palette knife. And then this one is called Golden Hour. So this one I think is my favorite out of all of them because this one has a gold tone to it. And this one is so pretty when you put it on the cardstock. I love that gold color. So here it is on the white, and then I'm just going to put a little bit more on my palette knife and spread it here on the black cardstock. So here when I bring these closer, look at when I turn the cardstock at different angles, look at all of that metallic shine. I love that. The next one I have is called Crocodile Tears, and this is the green. Again, it's just a white creamy paste, but when it goes on, you're going to see a beautiful green metallic shine, especially when it's applied to that black cardstock. And look how beautiful that is. So you can put this on as thick or as thin as you want just by spreading it to the thickness that you want it to be on your cardstock. And it will dry pretty quick. It doesn't usually take a long time to dry. Now if you did put a lot of the solar paste on your cardstock, it would take a little bit longer to dry than if you just put a thin layer. All right, this next one is called Beluga. This is the blue color. So here is it on the white cardstock and then on the black cardstock. I love that blue color. I think it's gorgeous. You can even see that paste on the palette knife. Some of the paste when it's left over on that palette knife, you can see the color of it. Look how gorgeous that is. And the last color I have is called Royal Flush, and this is the purple color. So there are all of the 5 colors swatched out. I just love the metallic shine on the black cardstock, but I will hold these up so that you can see both the white and the black cardstock next to each other just so that you can see what they look like on both. So you can totally use these on stencils, you can use these with your stamps, you can use these with embossing folders, and I'm going to show you different ways of using them today, and we'll be making some cards. So starting out, I'm going to use the Scrapbookcom Fireworks stencil. And I have a piece of black cardstock underneath, and I'm going to use all of my colors of solar paste to spread on the different fireworks on this stencil. So I'm just using a palette knife to get that solar paste onto my palette knife, and then I'm pressing the palette knife into the holes of the stencil to get really good coverage. And I would also use the side of my palette knife just to scrape off some of that paste so that it's not too thick. You don't want your paste to be too thick on your stencil. So make sure between colors you do wipe off your palette knife so that you're not spreading the color of the first one into the second color. So this next color I'm using is the purple color. This is the Royal Flush, and I'm just applying it the same exact way. Just put some of the solar paste onto my palette knife and spread it onto the firework. So next I'm going to wipe off my palette knife again and repeat the process using the golden hour. So this is the gold color, and I'm going to apply that here at the top. I'm also going to apply it towards the bottom, and then once I finish that, I'll move on to the next color. So the next color I'm using is the Overheated. This is the orange color. Now right now it's not looking like a whole lot of anything, but just wait until I remove the stencil and all of the metallic shine is revealed on that black cardstock. Now I'm applying the green color. This is the Crocodile Tears. And then I'm going to apply the blue, which is the Beluga. I'll apply that to the right side as well as I'm going to put it there on the left side. And then I think I have one more to come in and do, which is the bottom. I'll come back in with the Crocodile Tears, and then I need to color in some of right above that blue there, and I'll go ahead and do that off camera. So now we're ready for the big reveal. Look how beautiful that is. So I do have to say that just by looking at this on the screen, it doesn't look as beautiful as it does in person, but I'm trying to get it as close to the camera as possible at different angles so you can see all of that metallic shine on there. It is so pretty. So I did let that background dry, and now it's dry, I'm going to go ahead and finish up and make this into a card. So using that holographic paper from Scrapbookcom, I'm using the gold cardstock, and I did cut the center out because I don't want to waste all of that gold beautiful paper, so I figured I'd cut the center out with a rectangle die and save it for another project. And I'm going to add this to a 5x7 card base. So the gold paper I actually cut down to 5x7 inches and then just cut the center out. And now I'm going to layer my firework background right on top of that. I did end up cutting down the firework stenciled background to 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, so that way a little bit of that gold holographic paper is showing on the edges. I also am using the Scrapbookcom birthday celebration dies, and I die cut the word celebrate out of the gold cardstock, and I just backed it up on some of the black cardstock. So this card could be used for a birthday card, it could be used for a 4th of July card, it could be used for a New Year's Eve card, an anniversary card, so many different options, but I just love how that firework stencil looks with all of that metallic solar paste. Okay, so I'm going to create another card, and this one I'm using a stencil as well. This is the Roma stencil from Scrapbookcom, and this time I'm only going to use 2 of the solar paste. I'm going to use the Beluga. This is the blue color, and I'm going to put some there at the top of the stencil, and then I'm going to come in with my all-purpose craft scraper, and I'm just going to spread that paste all the way down the stencil. Using the craft scraper, it actually allows you to add more paste to cover more of an area. I didn't use the craft scraper with the fireworks card because I didn't want to cover such a large area. I just wanted to use the palette knife because it will give me more control over adding different colors to the different fireworks. But with this stencil, since I wanted to cover the whole thing, I was able to use the craft scraper and save some time. So here I went ahead and finished up adding all of that beluga color, and now I just cleaned off my tools, and I'm going to come in and I'm just going to add a little bit of the golden hour to this stencil. So you can mix the colors just by adding another color right on top of the previous color, and the color that's on top is the one that's going to obviously then show when you remove the stencil. So I just wanted to see what it was going to look like if I just added two different colors, and then here I'm just going to make sure all of those little holes are filled in. And now for the reveal. Look how pretty that is. So here I'm holding it up close to the camera, and you can see the blue mixed with the gold. It just is so pretty. I love that. I even love that piece there at the bottom of the cardstock where just those two colors are mixed. Oh gosh, that's so gorgeous. Here I want to just apply some to this black cardstock just using my palette knife. And then I'm just going to take a water brush. I'm just going to spread it with my water brush just to fill that entire piece of cardstock to get it a nice smooth texture. And once it's dry, I can then use that piece to die cut my sentiment for this next card. So for the sentiment, I am going to be using the block outline sentiments from Scrapbookcom. And I just love how you can take that cardstock with the metallic shine and just die cut your dies from it. I also die cut the word thanks from white cardstock. Now these outline dies give you the outline as well as the inside. So I'm going to glue down the outline and then piece in the inside letters from the blue solar paste. So if you noticed, I did use my brand new glue from Scrapbookcom, which is the Artiste glue. And that glue has a nice fine detailed tip, which allows me to add glue to all of those fine die cut pieces. I love this glue because it also has a pin that you can put in the tip for storing and to keep it unclogged. And I recently did an entire video showing all about this glue, and I'll link it here at the top right hand corner of this video as well as down in the description box below. So my panel was cut down to 5x7 because I'm making a 5x7 card. So I'm just going to glue that here onto a 5x7 card base. I didn't want to cut this down anymore because I wanted all of that beautiful metallic detail to show up on this card. And to finish this up, I'm using the Scrapbookcom silver glitter pops of color, and I'm putting some silver pops of color inside each one of those sections there on that stencil. And I also want to let you know that you can add the fine tip from the new Artiste glue to your pops of color bottle so that your pops of color will even come out even more thin for detailed embellishing of your projects. Here's an up-close look at my second card. So I've shown you how to use the solar paste with stencils as well as how to apply it to cardstock and use it with your die cuts. And now I want to show you how you can use it with embossing folders. So here I'm taking a 3D embossing folder. This embossing folder is the Spellbinders Flurry of Snowflakes embossing folder. It is a 3D embossing folder, so it has a lot of raised areas once my cardstock is embossed. Now I'm going to take my ink blending tool and I'm going to dip it in the lid here and just take some of it off onto my craft mat, and then I'm going to lightly go over the raised areas of the snowflakes on that cardstock. And I'm just using a very light hand to go over those snowflakes. I don't want to press and rub because I don't want it to go on the other areas of the cardstock where the snowflake is not present. You just want to go slightly over the snowflakes. Now I did get a little bit on some of the flat parts of the cardstock where I pressed a little bit harder, but I made sure that for the remaining snowflakes I just gave it a really light hand and just went over those individual snowflakes where it's raised on the cardstock. And look how pretty this is. I cannot get over that beautiful gold color on that black cardstock with these snowflakes. This is the golden hour. Oh my gosh, it is so beautiful. Now I do want to mention, if you are using a ink blending tool like I am here, make sure you rinse it with water immediately when you're done, because if you don't rinse it, your ink blending tool, that little applicator at the bottom, will get hard because the solar paste will dry hard on there. So now I'm just going to make this into a card, and I decided to use the snowflake dies from Scrapbookcom. I love these snowflake dies because they give you a couple large snowflakes. There's some medium size and then there's some smaller ones, and I just took one of each size. I think it comes with a total of 6 snowflakes in this set, and I just took one of each size, a small, medium, and large, and die cut them with some holographic paper as well as some of the Scrapbookcom glitter paper. And I'm just layering these snowflakes together, and you can see how my Artiste glue is allowing me to get right into the smaller areas of those die cut pieces in order to add glue to those die cuts. For the sentiment, I'm using the Scrapbookcom modern dies. These are some alphabet dies that come in lowercase and uppercase letters. I'm using the uppercase J for the word joy, and then the lowercase O and Y. And I die cut those out of some gold holographic cardstock, and I'm adding those to my card. So I added that to an A2 size card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, and I'm just going to finish this off by adding a drop of the gold glitter pops of color to the center of my snowflake. So if you're one that has a lot of embossing folders, think about all of the possibilities you can use with this metallic solar paste in your embossing folders. So for this next technique, I just wanted to make a background with my solar paste and using my palette knife. So I'm just going to take each color and just spread it from right to left across the cardstock. With each application, I will be cleaning off my palette knife and then going into the next color and just spreading it across. Again, you can see that creaminess of the metallic solar paste, and as soon as it hits that black cardstock, it gives you this beautiful metallic shine. So the colors that I'm using, I'm just kind of going in rainbow order. I have the Cross My Heart at the top, I have the Overheated next, then I have the Golden Hour, then the Crocodile Tears, and then the last 2 rows, I'm going to apply the Beluga and then the Royal Flush. So while I'm doing this, I would love to hear which one of these is your favorite color. If you do have a favorite color of this metallic paste, leave it in the comments down below. Okay, so here I just use my palette knife to apply this, and then I'll let that dry. Look how pretty those colors are, and I'm going to use this for a background on a card, but I'm going to set that aside for the moment, and I'm going to do another background, but do it a little bit different than the first time. So the first time I used my palette knife to apply it. Here I'm also using my palette knife, but after I apply the colors, and I'm going to work fast here, after I apply all of the colors, I'm going to come in with my water brush, and I'm going to use water just to spread this across the cardstock so that the solar paste is more smooth on the cardstock and doesn't have any raised areas. So I went ahead and added all of the colors, and now I'm going to take a larger bristled water brush and just spread this color across. Now I mentioned earlier that I needed to work fast because this does dry pretty quickly. So because I was covering an entire piece of cardstock before coming in with my water brush and smoothing this across, some of it did dry, but I'm just going to keep going at it to see if I can get this to smooth out across the entire piece of cardstock, which it looks like I am able to get that to move a little bit better. So you can see it has almost a little bit of white in that when it's wet, but here's what it looks like when it's dry, and you can see all of that metallic shine and see how smooth that is by using the paintbrush to smooth it out. So here I'm putting both of those backgrounds side by side. The one on the right is with the palette knife, and the one on the left is smoothing it out with the paintbrush. The one on the right side has a little bit more texture to it. The one on the left side is more smooth. So I'm going to use the one I did with the palette knife as my background for this next card. I die cut the Scrapbookcom mosaic die with the gold holographic paper, and I'm going to use my artiste glue from Scrapbookcom to add glue to the back of this intricate die. So because this is a fast drying glue, I'm just going to put glue in sections. After I add it to the top quarter of that die cut, I'm going to add it to the background piece, and then I'm going to press that down on the background and then work in the next section by adding glue, pressing that down onto the background, and then going to the last section until the entire background die is added to that piece of cardstock. And then I'm going to take the other background and die cut the word hello for my sentiment, and I'm using the Scrapbookcom Thank You Sentiment dies for this one. And again, I'm using my artiste glue, and I'm layering that up onto a piece of gold cardstock that I also die cut out with the same hello die. So I'm just layering it and offsetting it a little bit so that there's a little bit of gold showing on the left side of those letters. And then I'm going to add glue to the back of the entire die cut and add it to the bottom right hand corner of my card. Now you can leave that card as it is, just like that. Beautiful background with the sentiment on it, and card could be finished. But I'm going to go one step further, and I'm going to die cut some butterflies from this metallic cardstock. The dies I'm using are the Butterfly 1 dies from Scrapbookcom. And I'm going to add these 2 butterflies to my card. I think these butterflies die cut out of the metallic cardstock is so pretty. So I'll add those, and then I'm going to add some of the gold glitter pops of color right down the middle of the butterflies for some more dimension. And I only glued down the center of the butterflies so that the wings pop up. But look at all that metallic shine on that card from the background to all of those die cuts. Oh, it's so pretty. Okay, so moving on to my next technique. I'm going to take a piece of black cardstock. I'm running some powder over the top of it, and I'm going to do some stamping. I'm going to use the Scrapbookcom Wildflowers stamp set, and I'm going to stamp down the stamp right in the middle of that cardstock, but I'm going to stamp it down with some Versamark ink because I'm going to do some embossing. So I'll go ahead and ink this up with my ink pad and then press this down on my cardstock. I'm going to ink it up one more time to make sure I got enough ink on there, and then I'll press it down one final time, and then I'm going to add some gold embossing powder to this stamp. Next, I'll use my heat tool to heat set the embossing powder. And for this card, I'm going to use a regular paintbrush, no water, and I'm just going to paint with the tip of my paintbrush. And I'm using a very thin paintbrush to get into the small areas of the stamped image. Now, if you have a paintbrush with thicker bristles, it'll be harder to get into these small areas. So I'm just dipping the tip of the paintbrush into the solar paste, and the color that I'm using right now is the Cross My Heart, and I'm coloring these flowers up. After I finish with one color, I just rinse off that paintbrush with some water, and then I'm ready to go into the next color. So the next color I'm using is the Beluga. So I'll go ahead and color all of those areas with that blue color. And then again, I'll clean off my bristles with some water and come in with the next color. So the next color I'm using is the Crocodile Tears, and I'm going to color all of the leaves in the Crocodile Tears since that's my green. So you can see how you can take your solar paste and you can just color up a stamped image with your solar paste and a paintbrush. And that color goes on with a metallic finish. So to finish up this card, I am going to take a piece of the gold holographic paper. I'm going to cut the center out. This is an A2 piece of paper, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. I just cut the center out with a rectangle die. And then I'm going to add the gold paper to an A2 size card base. And then I'll go ahead and add the black cardstock with the flower stamp right to the top, so you can see a little bit of gold peeking out all 4 sides. For my sentiment, I'm going to be using the Scrapbookcom Word Fetty Sunny Days stamp set, and I'm using the sentiment that says "You're amazing," and I am doing some embossing on my black cardstock so that I can use some gold embossing powder. I'll go ahead and heat set that to melt the embossing powder, and then I'll just cut that sentiment from the cardstock. I did add some foam on the back, and I was trying to figure out where to put it, and I ultimately chose to put it in the bottom center. And I'll just add that to my card, and that will complete this card. So I would love for you to leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts on this Simon Hurley solar paste. And if you had a favorite card, I would love to know that too. Once again, all supplies that I've used today are listed down in the description box below. You'll also find them on my blog, as well as up-close pictures for all of my cards at lisamearsdesigns.com. And there will be a coordinating blog post in the description box below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like videos like this and want to see more, please click that subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications so that you'll be notified when I release a new video. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.